Matt Unruh here with Gary Thomas, head football coach of the Dodge City Conchs, coming off a tough road loss, a long road trip to Iowa, and all for kind of a blowout game, losing 57-14 to number 2 in the country in Iowa Western. And talk about the game and how it kind of spiraled out of control, Coach.
What happened fast, that's for sure. They're a good football team, and deservedly of their ranking. They're good on offense, they're good on defense, they're great on special teams. They play hard, they're very organized, well coached, as we like to think that we are. But we just didn't play well. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. They came out in the first series and we stop them on first down, and on second down they go 79 yards for a touchdown, and by nothing that they did, we weren't lined up correctly on defense, and it was our mistake. They kick off to us, and we actually drive down easily and score and tie it up 7-7. Kick off to them, and they go 3 plays and score 65 yards. We blow a coverage. Again, had nothing to do with what they were doing. It had to do with us blowing the coverage and not being able to function and get lined up correctly. We end up turning the ball over on the next series on offense, gave them a short field, and before you know it, it's 21-7. And teams like that, you're not going to come back on once they get up on you that quickly. And they we continued to make mistakes, and once it got to a certain point, it snowballed so fast, and the kids got down, and things like that happen. Sometimes they're good for you. With everything that happens, there's something to be learned from it, and hopefully we did, because we got another big one this week.
Yeah.
But trying to look at the positive side of it. In 2012, we were 3-0 when I was at College of DuPage, and we were nationally ranked, and we went up there and played Iowa Western, and they did the same thing to us. They steamrolled us pretty good. And it kind of redirected our focus, and we went on and won our last 6 games in a row and finished number 8 in the country. They finished number 1. They won the national championship, but it kind of got our attention a little bit and helped us be a better football team, and hopefully some of that happened this week. But we've had a good week of practice, and I feel good about where we're at. Hutch is a really good football team, so I don't know that it will affect the outcome of the game one way or the other, but I have a good feeling about where we're at in our own house, as a football team, in the direction that we're going in our program, and that won't be based upon the score of this next football game or any of the football games. I think we've got a good group of kids. I think we'll be a good football team by year's end, and we've just got a brutal stretch of our schedule right now we've got to get through, and we got to do some things better and to become a better football team.
Well, yeah, you're right. You have Hutch at home next week. Let's go back to Iowa Western for a little bit, Coach. You mentioned some of your defensive struggles against Iowa Western. It seemed like offense struggled to get in a rhythm too, at least according to the stats.
Yeah, I think it was not to take the blame away from anybody, but when we got down so quick, the offensive guys, that they just kind of quit, I think, to be honest with you, and I was disappointed in their effort. I was disappointed in our defense with the way that they played, and the lack of organization, the lack of discipline, and all of the things that led to it. I was disappointed with the offense's just lack of energy and effort, and I think some teams are, the offense is what kind of lights the fire under the football team, and the defense plays hard because the offense is playing well, or vice versa. Sometimes it's a big play on defense that gets your offense sparked and ready to go. I don't know that maybe our defense was playing poorly, so our offense was, it just drained the energy right out of them, or if, there's a million explanations or excuses, I guess is what they might be called, and we're not looking for excuses, we're looking for answers. So the fact is we didn't play well. We need to figure out why we didn't play well, and we need to fix it, or we're gonna run into some similar problems in the future.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen this way, but it seems like in football a lot of times what the defense does affects the offense, and vice versa. Just a mentality thing, and of course have to stay focused for this next week, a home game at least, but against top 5 team
Yep.
in Hutch. How do you? Well, I know you prepare the same way every week, but how do you get your guys prepare mentally for back-to-back tough opponents?
Well, I mean, this one has its, every game has its own uniqueness to it. This one for us is a big game because it's a conference game. The Iowa Western game was, I don't want to say a throwaway game, but it didn't mean anything. It meant something in the national picture, but it didn't mean anything for our conference record. So the fact is we're still tied for first place in the conference, and this game is for sole possession of first place. So it's an important game from that standpoint. And if we can't get motivated for that reason and that reason alone, then we've got some bigger issues. So this was very similar to last year. We came in and this game right here put us in first place by ourselves, or at least tied with, I think, Butler for first place. And it's again the same thing this year. I think they're a little bit better than they were last year, maybe a lot better than they were last year. They're playing really well. Ryan's got a good team, and again they're very well coached, very well organized, and they're confident in what they do. They were a little, I think, lackluster at times last week, but again we're getting to that point in the season where teams, most people are sloppy in week 1. Week 2, you're much better than you were. Week 3, you're much better than you were. And week 4, for whatever reason, you just kind of hit the dog days of the season. And week 4 through 6 have always been difficult for us. And I don't know why, just from a mental standpoint. And then we've always finished strong usually. Just because once you get through that difficult part, you're close to midterm and grades. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's the time of year, the season's changing, but the fact is, it's kind of a brutal stretch for you, regardless of who you play. And so for us, this game means a lot from a recruiting standpoint, from a conference standpoint, and our ultimate goal is to win a conference championship, and it goes through Hutch. So it goes through everybody, but this week it just happens to go through them. So we've got to put our best foot forward and put ourselves in a position to be successful.
Yeah, you've got some other big conference opponents like Butler, but considering Hutch has already beaten Butler this year, it does seem that the conference championship will have to go through Hutch at this point in the year, and I know it's one game at a time. A big opponent, 2-2 on the season, but the most important record right now is 2-0 in conference.
Yes.
If we're eyeing for a conference championship.
Right.
I know we got a chance to play Hutch twice last year. We had them, got the win in regular season, and unfortunately only lost to Hutch last year was in the playoffs in that home game, the 2-3 seed. Do you have the feeling of a little bit of revenge from your team against Hutch?
No, as we went back and watched that film, I've watched it 3 times already this week. The second game, I really, when I go back, I feel really good about our game plan, and thought we should have won that football game, and we just had a couple things that went against us. That was the game where we had the 54-mile-an-hour wind. So that was, I think on a 80-degree day we probably beat them. But the fact was, when there was 2 quarters when you're going into that wind, that they were just playing straight man coverage, and it really came down to who ran the ball better. And they just happened to run the ball a little bit better that day than we did, and then we had the one big turnover in the third quarter. But we had our chances in the fourth quarter. We had the ball down there twice at the 10-yard line and didn't score twice, which we would have won the game 21-20. And so we had our opportunities. As I go back, I think we did the right things from a play call standpoint. We just didn't execute, and so I don't think there's a revenge aspect of it. I just think they're doing the same stuff. They might just be doing it with better people than they were last year. But the fact is, I think our game plan was sound. We'll take some of those elements and use them this year as well, and see if we can't make it work. But I think they're better at defense. They're actually, all their defensive linemen are back, so it's the same group they were playing with last year. So theoretically, they should be better versions of themselves. But I don't think they're as good on the back end as they were last year. But they're so good on the front end of their defense that their secondary doesn't have to be quite as talented. Not that they're not talented, but quite as talented as they were last year to defend the pass, because their pass rush is so much better. So it's going to be a good challenge for us. And offensively, they're light years better than they were last year. They've got some big time athletes on offense, and it's going to be hard to bottle those guys up. And in college football, nowadays it's you look at the scores and, nobody's shutting anybody out anymore. It's, you're going to give up 30 points. That's just kind of where college football is at for the most part. So they're going to get their points. It's not about trying to shut them out. It's trying to play sound, effective defense and get some stops, because you're just not going to stop them every time. So for us, it's about capitalizing on the opportunities that we get, but we've got to make some stops from time to time and force them to punt. We've got to put some points on the board. So it's going to have its unique challenges, but hopefully we can get motivated for this one and put ourselves in a position to be in the conference race. I think even if we didn't win the game, I still think we have a chance to be in the conference race at the end, because I think we have some winnable games that can put us still in position to make a move late in the season. But obviously somebody would have to beat Hutch for that to be possible. So.
And we're with Gary Thomas, head football coach of the Dodge City Conchs. And Coach, what do you think your team has to do well on Saturday in order to come out with the win?
A lot. I wish there was a simple answer to that question. The answer is a lot. We've got to score points. We've got to protect the football and not turn it over. We've got to play well on special teams, because they will. So we've got to get good field position with our kickoff return team. We've got to get great coverage with our kickoff team. We've got to get good field position changes with our punt team. We've got to make sure that we catch the football on our punt return team, and we've got to play sound defense. We're not asking our defense to shut them out and do anything extraordinary. We're just asking them to make some stops when we have the ability to make stops, and try not to give up too many big plays. They're good. They're going to get some big plays, but if we can limit the amount of them and limit our catastrophic mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. They're going to get you out schemed from time to time. Eventually, their guy is just better than your guy at the point of attack, and sometimes our guy will be better at the point of attack. So you got to live with the good and live with the bad, but it's the game is ultimately about limiting your catastrophic mistakes that can change the game or get you beat.
Big game this Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Come out, support the Conchs. If you can't, tune in on 1550 AM The Sports Sound, conchsports.com. Also live streaming video from the goconchs.com page. I think the link is under live video for that one as well. So, Coach, any other final thoughts about this week or things coming up?
Well, I know Central Station and Pepsi are putting on a tailgate from 11 to 1. So they'll have hot dogs and hamburgers and all that kind of stuff in the parking lot. So if you show up early, you have an opportunity to get something to eat. I think it's also being streamed on another website also, which I'm not going to promote that one because I'm going to promote ours. But
I think they're actually using our stream for that too.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, because we are the national game of the week, I guess, for EA Sports or something like that, is what our sports information director released yesterday. So not sure how we got picked for that, but we'll take it, and obviously we'll have some extra eyes watching. So for us, more motivation to put on a good performance. So we'll see how it goes. We'll strap up our helmets, they'll strap up theirs, and we'll figure out who's better, I guess.
Last question, Coach. I want to get your thoughts on kind of the new schedule, a couple more games added, and then, of course, the matchups with the Iowa teams. Do you feel it helps your program when you play a lot tougher competition like Iowa Western? Does it help recruiting? Does it help morale, even if it's a game where you get beaten fairly badly?
I don't think the only negative that I can come up with is that we play 11 straight games with no bye week.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to do. Your bodies get banged up. Even in NFL season, they've got 2 bye weeks, so it's a very grueling schedule for us. And if you throw in our scrimmage, which is the week before the season starts, we have 12 straight weeks of football with no rest. And that's difficult to do for anybody. That's the only true negative, in my opinion. The schedule's built where you could take a bye week, but we chose to fill that game with Air Force. So everybody approached it a little differently. Butler, in their bye week, they're playing Air Force. Hutch ended up playing Bethany JV to open the season. So some schools are playing a Division III or NAIA JV team. Some schools are playing the Air Force Academy. and some schools took a bye week. So Garden had a week off last week, and my thought on that was you're only allowed to play 12 games. So if we can schedule 11 and then play in a bowl game, why cheat the kids out of a game or an opportunity to help them get recruited? Which is why we chose to play a full schedule. But I think the scheduling agreement with Iowa is a good thing because of longevity in community college football. If you look at community college, part of the reason I'm here in Dodge City is because community college football in the state of Illinois and the upper Midwest is going away. So games, College of DuPage, for example, this year, they're playing in New Jersey. They're playing playing a team from Georgia. They have to go to Texas, which that's, a 20-hour drive for them.
And it's drive, it's not fly.
No, they're not flying anywhere. They're going to Iowa. So they're playing all over the country. Wow. So that's just not realistic for a community college budget to be able to do those kind of things. So for us, even the Texas schools are having some struggles because there's only 5 of them, and then you throw in NEO. So there's really it's a 6-team conference. So some of their non-conference schedule, they can't find games with anybody else. The Mississippi schools, there's only 8 of them, and they all play each other. They don't play anybody else. So they kind of play each other twice, and they do what they have to do. So for us, there's nobody geographically elsewhere that we can go play. Same with the Iowa schools. There's nowhere geographically close that they could go to pick up more games. So for us, to be able to have the Iowa schools and us join together, if everybody else in the country dropped football, we could still have a good little community college football conference.
Oh yeah.
Because we've got 10 teams that are sticking together, so you're guaranteed, or 11 teams, you're guaranteed a 10-game schedule every single year, whereas the other schools are just scrambling to find games. So even if we chose to not play on our bye week, we'll always have a 10-game schedule. And there's value in that. There's ability to survive where other schools can't. So like I said, I think it's a great thing for our conference, for both of our conferences. We need each other to be able to make this thing work over the long term, and geographically we have to stick together because there's no, in the surrounding states, Oklahoma's to the south, they have 1 school, to the east is Missouri, they have no schools, to the north we have Nebraska, there's no schools, to the west there's Colorado, there's no schools. So, you could throw a grenade in any direction and you're not going to hit a junior college outside the state. So for us, it's about preserving what we have and making sure that we can thrive in the future. And with that scheduling agreement, I think we can.
With Iowa Western on that schedule every year, do you think that helps or hurts Jayhawk Conference recruiting? In one sense,
it
maybe getting a shot at one.
No, well, the thing that they have over us is 2 things. There's only 3 schools in Iowa, and there's 1 million more people in Iowa than there is here. So they can get at times a higher quality athlete because there's more people to choose from and less people recruiting them. We have 1 million less people here in Kansas and 8 schools recruiting all those kids versus 3 schools recruiting 4.5 million people versus 8 schools recruiting 3 million or whatever it is. So they have just a geographic advantage, a population advantage from that standpoint. Doesn't mean they have better players, there's just more of them and there's less people recruiting them. So we're trying to divvy up all of the in-state kids between 8 schools here. There's just not enough good top level athletes in this state to split between 8 schools, along with Fort Hays, Washburn, Emporia, Pitt State, K-State, Kansas, and then the other people that come in here. University of Florida was in here recruiting a kid out of Derby, and Southeast Missouri, and all the other surrounding schools that still come into Kansas also and recruit. So, we're fighting over a very small pool of people, and the kids we're recruiting are being recruited by everybody. So it's difficult in the recruiting battle, and it's a lot easier for them. The other thing is they have full scholarships. So for their out-of-state guys that are, some of the premier athletes in the country, they can outbid us on, top premier talent because they can, just flat comes down to dollars and cents, and they can beat every school in the Jayhawk with money if they choose to. Doesn't mean that there's not enough kids to go around, but their pool of players to choose from, whether it be the entire nation or just in state, they have a distinct advantage over everybody that they play. And that's not to say that they're not well coached, because they do a great job. They're in a bigger city. You know, they're a suburb of Omaha, Nebraska, so they're in a bigger location. They're, you know, so they have more students, which means they have, you know, bigger facilities, and they have a lot of advantages. They're not winning on accident, but they combine all of those geographic, financial, enrollment advantages, but they're also very well coached. They have a very good staff.
No wonder they're so good.
That really knows what they're doing. Yeah, it's not an accident. I've known Coach Strohmeyer for a while now, and he's done, you know, when he was at Northern Iowa Area Community College before he went to Iowa Western, they were good there too. So he's always going to have a good football team no matter where he's at and no matter what resources he has, but he happens to be at a place that has a lot of resources. So,
Coach, do you think recruits or potential recruits look at our schedule, see Iowa Western on there, and think, I want a shot at one of the best teams in the nation?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in some scenarios, I don't know that they're that forward thinking enough to, you know, look at our schedule. I do think that the Jayhawk name carries some weight in recruiting, and obviously Iowa Western carries some weight in recruiting just in their name alone. So the opportunity to play in one of the best community college conferences in the country is I think a recruiting advantage. I think from an out-of-state standpoint more than an in-state standpoint, because in-state, you know, kids they know they're going to go play in the Jayhawk Conference. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're awed or starstruck by us playing Iowa Western. I think they're more interested in having the opportunity to play for a Jayhawk school. You know, the out-of-state, it might be a little more enticing to go get to play Iowa Western, but the fact is, in Kansas, it doesn't matter to the kids, because no matter what school they go to, they're going to play Iowa Western.
Yeah.
So,
be more surrounding states.
Right.
Well, that's Coach Gary Thomas. I'm Matt Unruh. Again, kickoff 1 o'clock on Saturday against Hutch on the 27th. If you've already seen this past the 27th, it'll be Fort Scott following that on the 4th on the road at 1 o'clock. 1550 AM, the Sports Hound. Live stream audio at conksports.com, goconks.com, link for live video there, and I believe iTeam Sports and EA Sports picking up the Dodge and Hutch matchup this Saturday. Coach Thomas, thanks again for your time.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for watching.